With great joy, I want to welcome back my dear friend, Dr. Zev Zelenka, who is a true hero of our times.
Thank you, Rabbi. And I want to just announce to everyone that Rabbi Katzin was sent by God to my life at the most difficult moment when I was lost and sick on death's door and didn't know how to manage the complexities of my family's needs. And I just want to express my eternal and soulful gratitude to Rabbi Katzin and all your friends that rose up and supported me on many levels, emotionally and materially, to get me through a very difficult time. And the fact that I am still in the fight and still have the perseverance and resilience in a very big part is due to you being a shliach of Hashem at that moment in time. So I really am eternally grateful to God for having you in my life.
I want to express my gratitude to Hashem for sending you into my life, because I can only say that I am your humble student, not only in resilience, which is a great part of what I'm learning from you, but first of all, in overcoming difficulties, overcoming challenges, overcoming illness. And I not only was with you, I am with you, and I'm learning from you. And I remember how many times you actually put things into perspective. So if I'm going to ask you then about what is the Shabbat for you, for your life?
It's very important to be in line with the truth and not to be delusional. And so the truth is, this world is in need of rectification, and this world is dark and chaotic. However, when you know where the problem is, you could also then begin to address it properly. And Tisha B'Av for me is a very important and diagnostic test of the state of the world. And what is the state of the world? The majority of humanity has been psychologically enslaved by fear. And this is a wonderful opportunity. I'm more optimistic now about the future than I've ever been in my life. I see such clarity than I've ever seen in my life. In some way, this world is like the Garden of Eden right now. And before you think I'm crazy, I'd like to explain what that means. In the Garden of Eden, before the sin, there was good and there was bad, but they weren't mixed up. You could see exactly where the good was, and you could see exactly where the bad is. And this is exactly now. Now, granted, it's mostly bad, but nevertheless, you know where the bad is, and you know where the pockets of good are. So Tisha B'Av is right now an opportunity for the pockets of good to coalesce together to make a very big island and continent where we together as a human species can make the right moves. And what is the right move? It's to transition from a slave mentality into a redemptive thinking. You see, historically, biblically, only 20% of Jews left Egypt. And then there was a whole generation that for 40 years wandered and had to die out before the Jews could enter the land of Israel. So statistically, it's around 10% only made it. 1 out of 10 people were able to make the transition from slave mentality to redemptive orientation and thinking, which that's what the land of Israel represents. It's a freedom to serve and choose to be a servant of God, a slave to God. There's only one type of free person in this world. It's someone who chooses to be a servant of God, not forced. And so you have to have the ability to free yourself from serving idol worship, serving your own fears, serving materialism, serving anything that is transient or material or of this world. And you liberate your soul and connect it to the transcendental, the infinite, the beyond the infinite God, who then gives you the power to persevere and the resilience. You mentioned that before. It's the resilience comes from the blessing of God, because fear, which is the weapon of the enemy, the whole point of COVID-19 is just to induce global fear, and then to use that fear to manipulate your behavior into a course of action which is not in your best interest. So fear exists in the psychological space where God is absent. So if you fill that psychological space with God's omnipresence and the concept, happy birthday, Rabbi Katzin, the concept that Hashem is making you every second from nothing, Bria Yesh Me'ayin, creation ex nihilo, and it's an active process, a dynamic process of recreation all the time. So then the reality of you never being alone, that God was always with you, he will always be with you. More importantly, he's here with you now and you are not alone, means that if you're not alone, there is no room for extraneous idol worshiping fear to penetrate your soul in any way. And if you don't have fear, if you're impermeable, you have a bulletproof vest against fear, then what happens is you cannot be enslaved by forces of flesh and blood.
It reminds me, by the way, the story that you, I believe, shared, that the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe was interrogated by the KGB, Jewish, unfortunately, officer. And he said to him, tell me the secrets, who's learning, where learning, the student, the teachers. And the Rebbe refused to say it. Then he said, okay, I have a tool that helps people to remember and speak. Remember what the Rebbe answered?
He took out a gun, pointed at his head, and he said, this toy has made many people speak. The Rebbe answered him, perhaps someone who has one world and many gods. But someone who has two worlds and one God, it's completely ineffective. And the wicked are called dead even when they're alive. The righteous are called alive even when they're dead. And that's the Jewish way of definition of life and death, is by looking at God as the source of all life, the life of life, and any proximity, spiritual proximity to the Creator makes you more alive. Any distance from the Creator makes you more dead. So from a Jewish perspective, when someone's will is aligned and his actions and his speech and his thoughts are aligned with the divine will, he is alive, regardless of where his soul is, in the body or not in the body, irrelevant. And if someone is transgressing the will of God, going against the desire of your Creator, then you're cutting yourself off from that Creator. You're cutting your life off. So that's how I view it, and that's how I try to make my decisions, and do not let, that's one thing my illness has taught me, is not to be afraid of any human being. And I'm ready to sacrifice my life, if need be, for the cause of refining this world, so that my children and your children and the presence of God could be revealed to them in this world. That is the purpose of my life. Nothing else matters.
I'm reminding myself and our viewers as well, there was a moment when you were speaking about your patience, and that how, because of the experiences that you went through, you decided not to just accept this as given, but rather fight the illness, fight the virus, and you, as you called it, a World War III, a virus against humanity. And I think that what empowered you is a sense of compassion and feeling the pain. In that regard, Tisha B'Av, as you called it, the tool or the test, I thought it's like feeling the pain of tragedy, catastrophe, illness of others is a sign that you are alive. Even though you are ill yourself, but you're in the midst of your personal illness, fighting with your difficulties on all fronts, that you know them. Nevertheless, you dedicated your life to others.
So Tisha B'Av is an opportunity. It's one of the most powerful opportunities, because light that emanates from the dark is much brighter than light that is emanated from the light. And since this is a very dark moment, and the temple, the destruction of our temple, is the root cause of all the suffering that our people are going through. You see, we could chase the suffering, but if you look at the source of it, is the fact that the divine presence has chosen to remove itself from being revealed in the physical world. And that's what the destruction of the temple is. So there's a vacuum where divinity is not revealed. And when divinity is not revealed, evil sets in. So our job as the Jewish people, we were chosen. It's not a statement of arrogance. It's a statement of responsibility. We were chosen and given a job to be God's ambassadors in this world. We're not part of the creation. We're part of the Creator. And it's our job to bring the knowledge of that Creator into the creation. And so that is the unique job of a Jew. And that could be manifest through anything that you do, through being a doctor, a lawyer, a rabbi, and it doesn't matter. But what matters is that you do it in a way that gives credit and glory to the Creator. It's not about you. It's not about your ego. It's about fulfilling the divine will, which is for your benefit. God knows what you need more than you know what you need. So anyway, so the biggest illness is when someone doesn't know they're sick. Tisha B'Av lets us know that the Jewish people are in need of a recovery. We need to recover our spiritual stature. We need to recover our temple where we can serve God and bring the right offerings that He wants at the right time, so that we can reveal that divinity in the world. And so if the whole world knew what it meant to them, the non-Jewish world, that the Jewish people would serve God in their temple properly, you'd have an army of non-Jews surrounding every single Jew and making sure that the Jew behaves and does everything that he's supposed to, because it's for their own benefit. The world needs order. The world needs divine consciousness. And this is really the war. World War III is a war between two systems of thought. One system is divine consciousness, humanity, which is focused on the one God. The second is, historically, has been flesh and blood behaving and thinking that they're God, and enslaving others in order to fulfill their wannabe deity delusions. And then, so when you have people like Paro historically, or Napoleon, or Hitler, or Stalin, or modern day tyrants and despots, you don't have to look too far, you know where they are. What sets them apart is the sociopathic belief that they have the right to decide who lives and who dies, how many people belong in the world, how many don't, what if you can own property or not. In other words, if you can eat meat or not. These people really feel that they can micromanage and know better who should be alive, who should be enslaved, and who should be on top of the dominance hierarchy of flesh and blood. So that's the inevitable conclusion. If you take the divine picture, the divine presence and consciousness out of the picture, you get a delineation of three categories: the superhuman, the Ubermensch, the human, and the subhuman. And this sounds like a fairy tale, except that it killed 200 million people 80 years ago. We had the Nazis, who thought that they were the Ubermenschen, descendants of Aryan gods, and that gave them the right to enslave the Anglo-Saxons in Europe and kill the subhumans, which were the Jews, the Gypsies, the handicapped, Slavs, and anyone who politically disagreed with them. So it's the same now. You have this woke elite, so to speak. They think they evolved. I'm saying they devolved into the classic pagans. And these pagans believe that because of their resources and because of their illuminated consciousness, they have a right to decide how many people should be on the planet and who should live and who should die. So it's a conflict of two systems of thought, a divine orientation or a enslaved mentality of worshiping transient and material reality, and or delusion, I would say. So that's the choice, and that's what Tisha B'Av represents. You see, when the divine presence is revealed, that eliminates, the two systems cannot coexist. So when light is revealed, darkness goes away. And this is our opportunity. We have to realize how much we have lost, how much pain and suffering is the direct result of exile, how much pain and suffering and misery and confusion and horror is the result of the destruction of our temple, and realize that the solution to the problem is the reestablishment of Jewish unity, the reestablishment of baseless love, the reestablishment of divine orientation, and begging God, because there's no natural solution, it seems, to this problem. It's so pervasive, and the evil forces have been so have a head start, so to speak. It says the Satan is Melech Zaken Seal, the old and foolish king. He's been around a long time, and he has a good grasp of our situation. So we need to break out of this. And the only way you're going to do this is to realize that your essence is godliness, that your soul is a chelik elokayim mamash. It's a part of the literal God. And only from that perspective, since you are one with the Creator, your source of vitality, your source of resilience, your source of courage is all related to your connectivity with the one God. It's not your power. It's God's love for you, and by your acknowledgement of that reality, that gives you the power to persevere against the most evil of forces, and to stand firm and not to be afraid. It could be a 1 to 10 million. It's irrelevant, because the one God is making everyone, and it's his will, whatever happens. He knows what's best for you more than you know what's best for you. And to be so sure that whatever will happen, if you just commit yourself to the truth, that the outcome will always be in your best interest.
I want to thank you for being courageous and innovative doctor who came up with the famous Dr. Zelenko's protocol. So can you update us, please, where we're holding today in terms of evidence of effectiveness of Dr. Zelenko's protocol and availability on the market?
The Zelenko protocol, I have to define what it is before I tell you where to get it, is a zinc ionophore zinc concept. It's a gun and a bullet. It's about getting enough zinc inside each cell that the zinc can stop the replication of RNA viruses. It's a little technical, but you need to understand it. So what is an RNA virus? It's all the strains of corona are RNA viruses. Now here's some other things that most people don't realize. All the strains of influenza virus are RNA viruses. And RSV is an RNA virus. They're all different diseases, except they're not. They'll use the same pathway for making copies of their genetic material, which is essential in reproducing. So if you stop their ability to make copies of their genetic material, you stop their ability to spread. And it turns out that zinc blocks this pathway. It blocks RNA-dependent RNA polymerase. And by doing so, you basically, with one bullet, shut down most of the world's health problems. Now, the only problem with zinc is that it doesn't get inside the cell. So you have a bullet, but you don't have a way to get the bullet to the target. That's a big problem. So that's where the zinc ionophore concept was born. It started out with hydroxychloroquine. Everyone knew hydroxychloroquine. I had advised President Trump about it, and he made an announcement about it. And so it became a whole political nightmare. But the reality is, all hydroxychloroquine did, it was the gun that delivered the bullet. Now, a gun without a bullet is useless. A bullet without a gun is useless. It's only the synergy of the two that actually makes it effective. So in April of last year, Cuomo, who in my opinion is probably the biggest serial killer in the history of America, I mean that, by the way. If you look at Pearl Harbor, 3,000 people died. Around 9/11, 3,000 people. And then I did a statistic, how many people were killed by serial killers from 1900? It's 10,000. That's 16,000 people, if you look at those three. And he killed 20,000 nursing home residents, that monster. He killed 20,000 nursing home residents. And not only that, that in April of 2020, he made an executive order that prevented me from getting hydroxychloroquine, the gun. Talk about gun control. He prevented me getting the zinc delivery system to patients. So here's something that had to happen. So I started innovating. I needed to find another model of gun. There's a saying, you don't go to war with the army you wish you had. You go to war with the army you do have. They took away my 50 caliber machine gun, hydroxychloroquine. So I did research, and on the NIH server, on all places, I find papers that say like this, that quercetin and vitamin C together are an effective zinc ionophore. To be honest, I didn't know what quercetin was. So I Google it. Listen to this. And I see it, it's over the counter. And it was like, this was one of like those light bulb moments in one's life where you realize, oh my God, this is not the solution for COVID-19. This is a solution for tyranny. Why? Because there's two risk factors to die from COVID-19. It's the doctor you choose and the government you live under. Other than that, there's no reason to die from COVID-19. So all of a sudden, I could now tell people, go to the farm, go to the supermarket, get quercetin, get vitamin C. Vitamin D is also extremely important, and zinc. And now you have the Zelenko protocol over the counter. So what I did was I open sourced all this information from day one, because it was life-saving. And I gave a few interviews in Israel, like 3 interviews, and quercetin sold out in the entire country. So it was giving hope to people that didn't have hope, because the governments weren't letting you have life-saving medication. Your doctors were too stupid to do the right thing, or too selfish. So all of a sudden, I was able to inspire the individual. I call this the medical Second Amendment, to take your own healthcare into your own hands and liberate you from tyranny. So this was amazing. I'm telling you. So it helped thousands, tens of thousands, if not more, of people. So then what happened was that it became hard to find. It became hard to find everything in one place, because you had to put a puzzle together. It's 4 different elements and different dosing. So someone asked me, can I do them a favor and put it together in one pill? So I kind of figured out how to do that, and I was able to source all this stuff and put it into like one pill, made it kosher. It's under my my label, which is my brand, which is Don't Worry Z Healthy. Don't Worry Z Healthy. And I priced it less than it would cost you to go buy the stuff separately, at least the brand names, and that's it. So what's happened is that since I launched this, it's called Z Stack, the vitamin supplement, and according to the FDA, all I can tell you is that, wink wink, that it's nutritional supplement and immune booster. But what the data shows in the papers and all the research, that quercetin and vitamin C is a powerful zinc ionophore. Zinc inhibits RNA-dependent RNA polymerase, and vitamin D, anyone who has high normal levels of vitamin D3, it basically stays out of the hospital. So it's not a COVID thing. It's a immune health, preventative health issue. So to have high normal levels of vitamin D between 50 and 70. Anyway, so if I put it all together, and essentially anyone who has access to this stuff could reintegrate back into society with no anxiety and no fear. You just, if you're high risk, you take it to boost your immune system so that you don't get sick. And if you do get sick, you just take it very early to boost your immune system so you don't die. So that's what I've been up to lately. I've trying to bring treatment options to the masses in an over-the-counter way.
And where people actually can buy it, either in the United States or elsewhere.
So yeah,
I'm talking about I understand that the ingredients, they need to understand exactly the dosage, and therefore they need also information. But if they get a pill, so with this pill on Amazon, they can find it on Amazon.
Right. So first of all, on my website, you have all the information. If you want to build your own pill, it's okay. I mean, I have the information. I open sourced it a year ago. But if you want, kind of did the work for you all into one bottle, it's on a website called zstacklife.com. Z Stack, STACK, life.com.
So I want to wish you life. You said life, right? I want to wish you life, strength, courage to continue innovating to benefit humanity, to stay strong and healthy, and your family. You should have only nachas from all your children and your family. And God willing, we should continue speaking after Tisha B'Av, but who knows, maybe this Tisha B'Av will already rejoice. Unless Hashem still wants us to do our work of rebuilding. Either way,
Amen.
it was a pleasure speaking with you. Wishing you good Shabbos to you and your family, and we will reconvene soon. Thank you so much.
Good Shabbos. God bless you.